Man, do I miss European nights at the bridge. All right, everyone, welcome back to American Blues Podcast. Let's talk about Chelsea 4, Genk 2. Look, we were supposed to win this game. We basically need to beat everybody in this competition comfortably, and that would be considered XXX. So overall, winning 4-2, most important thing about any game is that we won, but especially for this B team, they need to not only win with style, but also try to convince Maresca that they deserve to be on the first team. My initial reaction is that even though it's Conference League, man, is it nice to just have European games during midweek at the bridge again. The stadium was packed, the crowd was in, you could hear the excitement, the noise, even the away fans. Genk, your away fans, incredible, so loud, so enthusiastic, and really credit to Genk as a team. Like they really, I don't think anybody gave them a chance to win or tie this game, and they play their asses off for 90 minutes, never gave up. Even when they were down, 4-1, they still kept going. Even at the end of the game, they were still sprinting. So good for them. I think it's always good to see. So massive props to Genk and their away fans. Now, how was our performance? I think number one, it was a comfortable win. I was not nervous basically at any point. Even when Genk scored, to me, I was like, It was more just our defense just completely fell asleep during those two goals. And I think both of those goals were just absolutely atrocious and embarrassing, but each in their own ways. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's start with the positive, which is number one, it's still a win. Number two, I think the most important thing is that Maresca has Team B starting to play like Team A. Our defense looks a little bit more comfortable in possession, both Tosin and Badiashile and Disasi, but especially Tosin and Disasi, they were actually hitting several good through passes, like with pace, either towards João Felix, towards Neto, and they were successful. Now, of course, Nkuku isn't Jackson. He's not going to be a one running back to get the ball, so there wasn't that aspect of the game, but I think the buildup looked good. I think Veiga looked really good inverting. He was the key person in so many of our good plays going forward. He had several good passes out to the final third, especially to Mudryk. And then, shout out to Mudryk too. He had several good touches, good runs. He was contributing to one goal. But overall, I still have some about his overall performance. I think Casadei also had a really solid game in midfield. There was really only one moment where both Veiga and Casadei embarrassed themselves, and that was on the second goal. But like I said, we'll talk about that way down the road. Anyways, I think Casadei is a young player who's not getting that much game time, showed a lot of composure in a very difficult position. Even against a Conference League team, he still needs to show composure, getting the ball in deep defense, trying to connect defense to the midfield to attack. And then, of course, staying calm under pressure, not making dumb passes. And I think for the most part, he did really, really well. And his tracking back was a good too, except for that second goal. And then another positive, which is, of course, all the different people that got goals. I think a lot of them needed the goals, especially someone like Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. He desperately needed a goal. It's always good to see Nkuku on the score sheet again. This guy, he's a goal machine, And then one person that I really thought needed a goal today and to play a little bit better was João Felix. But again, not going to be too negative. We did win. Still a European game. It's still a good win, especially for the B team. Now let's go through the goals real quick. First goal, it was a really good run by Mudryk on the right side, and he was able to find Veiga on the back post with a really nice weighted cross. And Veiga, great finish across the goal. No chance for the goalie. And like I said, I think Veiga looks better and better every single game. He's obviously physically, he's built for speed and strength and power. But not only that, I think on the technical side and especially the tactical side, I think he's getting much better. He's going out to midfield when he needs to. He's running back defense when he needs to. He's tracking back when he needs to. And his vision for passing forward and his through balls have been really well weighted today. So several good passing out to the wing, especially to Mudryk. And yeah, overall, I thought he had a great game. And then second goal, which I think was actually my favorite goal. Number one, since it came from Disasi, who's not really known for his long balls, but he had a great through ball over to Neto. And then Neto just beat his defender with pure pace, Goalie got a little bit caught in no man's lane because he tried to come out and then couldn't back up fast enough, but also great finish by Neto, just power shot on the right side, right past the goalie. Absolutely loved that goal. And then I think the next two goals were pretty lucky, to be honest. I think if there was a Premier League level goalie, I don't think either of those would have gone in. Third goal, the ball was kind of like floating around in the box. Veiga was about to get it. Defender hit it. It was a lucky bounce off of Veiga's foot. And then, of course, Nkuku just sprinted off and just blasted it straight at the goalie. And like I said, the goalie kind of dove to the left for no reason. It was headed straight towards his feet. If there was a better goalie, I think that should be saved 10 out of 10 times. It was hit with pace right at you, center of goal where the goalie already is. There's no reason that goal should have gone in. And the fourth goal, also good passing by João Felix. Ball kind of ended up in the middle of the box, and then KDH, really good run from midfield, got into the box, and again, hit it kind of straight at the goalie. And I think better goalie, easily savable, because KDH didn't actually hit it that hard, and it was hit in a very savable position by the goalie too. So better goalie, I don't think that would have gone in, but I'm glad it did, and I think KDH really needed a goal. You could see his celebration, how happy he was, and good for him. You could even tell from Maresca. Maresca didn't really celebrate the third goal, but the fourth goal, he definitely celebrated, so I'm very happy about that. And then overall, another positive is just, honestly, this attack is just so unfair for the Conference League. Like between Nkuku, João Felix, Neto, and I'll throw in Mudryk today, but overall, I don't really count Mudryk in this group. But especially those three, they are so many miles better technically than really any other player in the Conference League that it's kind of comical. And I think given that fact, I do think that João Felix had kind of a disappointing performance today. He did have a few good runs. I mean, he was important in terms of build-up. He was running back. He was basically playing the Palmer role. He was coming back to pick up the ball, looking up, trying to progress the ball forward. But really, in that final third, whenever he was the last man getting the ball, running into the box, he just held on to the ball a little bit too long, trying to be a little bit too technical and tricky. And that's kind of been João Felix's issue, is that he's got massive, massive amounts of talent, so much technical ability, but then he tries a little bit too hard sometimes, holds onto the ball a little bit too long, and then gets beat by the defender or the ball taken off of him. And honestly, at this level against the Conference League defense, I expect better from him. He doesn't need to try to hit the perfect through pass, perfect little chip overhead. Sometimes it's just about the simple stuff. And I think today he was just trying a little bit too hard to overcomplicate it in the final third. I think out of the final third, he was fantastic all day. And then, of course, let's talk about Mudryk. I think today he had a average game. I don't think it was a terrible game. I don't think it was a great game. But I do think that several times he was where he was needed to be. He was basically just a touchline, hugging the touchline all day long. But there were several times where he actually ran past the defender, several good dribbles. And really his biggest issue is that when he makes those runs, when he makes those dribbles, his final ball, apart from the one cross to Veiga, the rest of his final balls were just not good. Like his crosses never made it to the player. They're easily cut out by the defender. Like I said, I still think he needs a little bit too much handholding at his age. He should be better than this, especially against a defense like this. Like he should be running at the defender every single time he gets the ball, beating them every single time. And there were too many times where he just wasn't interested in making the run, or if he did, he got the ball taken off of him. He was running into blind alleys. And then even when he did make the run, his last ball was essentially to nobody. So overall, I do think it's better than other times I've seen Mudryk for just about any other game, really. But is it enough for me to say that he deserves more time, that he deserves the ball more? Absolutely not. And then let's really talk about just the main negatives are the two goals we gave with. The first goal, my goodness, that set piece defending is just one of the worst I have ever seen. I understand it was on like a second and third ball, so the defense had to get back into position. But Genk had five players on the back post. And there was not a single Chelsea defender even within like touching distance of them. And they had time. They all had time to get back into position and look around and see who they had to mark, and none of them did it. And that's a huge issue. That essentially means that there's no leadership in the back line. When they were trying to get back into defense, nobody was yelling at everyone to get back into position and mark players. They were just kind of all doing their own thing. And yeah, that cannot happen. Like that's just one of the worst defensive plays I think I've ever seen. And good on the Genk player for getting that header across goal. That was actually a great finish. And then the second goal, you could tell like the team knew they won. They had kind of dropped off in some like pace and interest. But I think as a player on the B team, if you're trying to make it to the A team, you basically need to play your ass off for the whole 90 minutes and extra time. Like there cannot be a moment where you just turn off and go, I'm okay not really making any runs or running after my marker. If you look that goal back, it's bad. Like when we lose the ball on the left side, basically both Veiga and Chelesa are out of position. They're both just jogging back, not really making any attempt to mark the players who are actively running into the box. Like the danger is not coming from the wing, right? The danger comes from the cutback cross and whoever's at the end of that cutbacks. And it left Disasi with 3 people to defend on his own in the box and in the back. So not good. And then there was another really disappointing part with that, which is when we lost the ball, KDH was in actually a position to sprint back and get his marker, and he didn't. He barely moved. He essentially walked back and just watched the entire play happen. I'm sorry. Like, that cannot happen. Flat out, that cannot happen. I don't care what minute of the game it is. You cannot watch the game go by you and just walk. When you're in midfield, your job is to be in both ends of the field, right? KDH's role today was not just to stay forward and not track back. No, he was actually one of the deeper midfielders. So he needed to sprint back for that just as much as Veiga and Chelesa did. And those 3, I thought on that goal were extremely disappointing. But overall, I think I don't want to be too harsh, right? I think winning 4-2 is still good. It's still a European game. There's something to be said about winning a game that you're expected to win because there's still some pressure that comes with that. And then you could tell by Genk and their fans just how much this game meant to them. So they were always going to give it 120% for the full 90 minutes. And then we just need to match that, right? We just need to match that. And then lastly, I've kind of noticed across our set pieces, especially corners this year between the A team and B team, we're kind of doing the same thing, which is we're doing a lot of short corners. But today I saw something kind of interesting, which is I guess we were trying to put Genk on their toes just because we would start off with a short corner and then suddenly switch to a long corner. But I think if we're going to try to make a defense nervous and not know who to mark, we need to make that transition faster. And then after we make that transition, we got to hit the actual corner. Like we can't just wait until everybody gets settled, everybody knows who they're marking, and then hit the long corner. Like that doesn't really make as much sense anymore. But, one of the goals did come from one of the short corner attempts. So, it's interesting. I do enjoy that we have a new set piece coach. It's something that we're working on because this stuff like we never saw last season. Last season, it was essentially just let's try to see if Thiago Silva can score on the corner, and that was it. So I'm always glad to see some routines, and over time, hopefully we get better on those. So yeah, overall thoughts on the game. I thought, again, comfortable win, game that we were expected to win, game that we did win. Now, do I think anybody on this B team showed that they deserved to start on the first team? Probably not. It's hard to say that Nkunku showed that this game when what we really did miss was Jackson's ability to run back into midfield and get the ball and progressive forward. Now, I think if anybody's ready to really knock on that door and be like, hey, I think I really deserve some time on the first team and maybe even start, I think Nkunku's an obviously solid option, and Pedro Neto and Veiga are both solid options. I think pretty much everybody else basically performed like they deserve to be on the B team. But overall, can't wait for the next game. Nottingham Forest, right before another international break. Big game over the weekend. It's another game that we're expected to win, and it's another game that I would say it's a must win. We have to beat these teams that we're expected to beat. So I'm highly excited to see the A team get back on for that game. Can't wait for that one. See you guys after the Nottingham Forest game. Peace.